La Llorona is a ghost who roams the banks of rivers, mourning for her children. The legend has many versions, but a common version of the legend says that long ago, in a rural pueblo, there lived a beautiful but poor mestiza woman named Maria. Though she loved a rich Spanish ranchero and he loved her, the two were not allowed to marry because of their class differences. Despite this, the couple continued seeing each other, and eventually they had two handsome but illegitimate children together. Over time, the rich ranchero stopped visiting Maria and their children. One day, while out in the pueblito, Maria found out that the ranchero was engaged to marry someone else, someone better suited to be his wife. Heartbroken, Maria walked back to her casita with their two children when she caught sight of the ranchero with his new fiancé. In a fit of blind rage, Maria rushed down to the nearby river with her children and threw them into the river. Her white dress drenched in water, she began to wail, immediately regretting what she had done. ¡Ay, mis hijos! Maria threw herself into the fast-moving river to try to save them, but it was too late. Her children were gone, and soon she too drowned in the river. Having committed the worst sin of all in killing her own children, Maria was unable to find peace in the afterlife, and now she's forced to roam the earth looking for her children. If you hear La Llorona's cries late at night, beware. Children in particular are in danger of La Llorona, as she's still looking for children to take with her. The popular legend of La Llorona is deeply rooted in Mestizo culture. The story is often told to children to discourage them from wandering off after dark, and particularly near dangerous water. In Mexico, La Llorona stems from several different pre-Hispanic female goddesses or spiritual beings who are usually identified with the underworld, death, lust, and children. From the Purépechas, there was Ahuicanime, who was considered the goddess of hunger and of women who died giving birth. Like the Aztecs, the Purépechas considered women who died in birth divine warriors. In the case of the Maya, La Llorona calls back to Xtabay, an evil spirit who appears as a beautiful woman in a white dress. Xtabay would seduce men whom she then drove insane and killed. The Zapotecas, meanwhile, had Tonachi Quecuya, a goddess of death and the underworld. Attractive at first, she too seduced men and then transformed into a skeleton and took their spirits into the underworld. Finally, in the case of the Aztecs or Mexicas, the pre-Hispanic legend of La Llorona comes from a multitude of goddesses. La Llorona may have come from the goddess Tenpecutli, who was punished for having drowned her children in a river, or she could be connected to the goddess of the underworld, Mictlanchihuatl, who seduced men and caused them to get lost. But perhaps the most likely Mexica forebears of La Llorona are the goddess of motherhood Cihuacoatl and Chocachihuatl, who was the first mother to ever die in childbirth, and the first Cihuateteo, or malevolent spirit, of a woman who died in childbirth. Legend has it that Chocachihuatl would appear at crossroads to hapless travelers at night. Rightly so, Chocachihuatl was one of the most feared entities in the world of the Nahua and sent shivers down many a Mexica spine. The legend of Cihuacoatl was first documented around 1555 by Fray Bernardino de Sahagún in his Historia General de las Cosas de Nueva España, otherwise known as the Florentine Codex. The Florentine Codex describes 8 omens that predicted the fall of Tenochtitlan and impending doom for the Mexica. The 6th omen was the appearance of Cihuacoatl as a woman in white with long black hair near Lake Texcoco. She wailed, "Oh, my children! Where will I take them to escape such a dire fate?" Which justifiably terrified the crap out of the inhabitants of Tenochtitlan. After the Spanish conquest, during the colonial era, people reported a wandering woman in white who wept loudly near Mexico City's Zócalo, where El Templo Mayor once stood. Notably, after the conquest, her cries changed to a simple, "Ay, mis hijos!" as she no longer harbored any hope of saving her children, given Tenochtitlan's actualized destruction. During the colonial era, the legend of La Llorona, as we know it today, was shaped. Due to the fear of heresy with the then still active and truly terrifying Spanish Inquisition, she was no longer identified with any one particular pre-Hispanic goddess. Moreover, because of the nature of oral folklore, the legend was passed between the indigenous and the Spanish, who each added their own elements to the story, making the legend of La Llorona one of the first Mestizo stories. From the Spanish, La Llorona has elements of the always frightening white lady. No, not that white lady. Most European white ladies can trace their origins back to Judeo-Christian figures like Eve and Lilith, or to Greek demigoddesses like Medea and Lamia. Concepts like Catholic sin and traditional patriarchy were also mixed in courtesy of the European settlers. Over time, the legend lost the prophecy of the destruction of Tenochtitlan, and perhaps influenced by the story of La Malinche, the tragic love story of the betrayal of an indigenous or mestiza woman by her wealthy Spanish lover, was added. La Malinche, or Malintzin, was a Nahua woman given to Hernán Cortés, who became his interpreter, mistress, and mother to one of his sons. Since colonial times, La Llorona has been conflated with La Malinche, who is, to say the least, a complicated figure in Mexico. Malintzin is simultaneously considered the mother of modern Mexican people and a symbol of national treachery for helping the Spanish topple the Mexica Empire. So, at times, La Llorona has been associated with the ghost of Malinche, who returns to mourn her betrayal of indigenous people, or to simply mourn their fate. Given that, the legend of La Llorona can be interpreted to represent the painful birth of a new culture between the indigenous and the Spanish. With her mournful weeping, La Llorona lays bare the generational trauma that the Spanish conquest created. In short, the mestizaje of Mexico was not all gold and the arrival of Jesus, but was also the cause of many tears, including, most famously of all, La Llorona's tears. All of this also underscores the fact that La Llorona is not just a story, but her legend is a part of Mestizo historical record and cultural identity. La Llorona's legend transcends borders, particularly in Latin America and parts of the US. And today, her reach continues to expand through songs, TV, movies, and of course, stories. But what do you think? Is La Llorona just a story told to niños para que se porten bien? Or does La Llorona represent the historical trauma of the Spanish conquest that our machismo culture just couldn't handle on its own, so we had to turn it into something dark and supernatural? Or is she out there right now looking for some kids to steal? So it's best just to hide your kids at night. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. Like, subscribe, and see you next time.